They wouldn't dare say no now. So if you have insurance and you're graduating, your parents or caregiver insurance company can then take you onto your insurance plan earlier, but not all insurance companies have agreed to that yet, so you have to find out. That's very important. And call my office. Did we give out anything with phone numbers on it? Okay, if you have insurance and that insurance company doesn't agree to let you go on your parents' plan, if your parents agree and pay whatever provisions there are, it's usually cheaper, you call me. We might make it a little uncomfortable for those insurance companies because it is the legislation. Sometimes you pass legislation and someone says, oops, you know, they're graduating in May or June. What do they do until September? So although there was a 6-month implementation, as I said, the overarching insurance industry has said they are going to make the change for the most part. Some may object, but my bet is that most of them will agree. What are the other provisions? And then you'll get more detail. Number one, another important part of the exchange is this. And I see this with my own daughter. She worked for the federal government for 18 years. She had a lot of high-powered jobs, very smart, and she had federal employee health insurance program. She married a guy, and they moved out to the island, and suddenly her COBRA ran out. She had to find some health insurance. I couldn't believe what she's paying, because her husband has a very, I see men shaking his head. She's an independent consultant. Her husband has a small business. They ended up getting insurance without prescription drug coverage. It was costing $25,000 a year. And they're all healthy, 2 kids and the parents. I mean, this just didn't make any sense at all. So what this exchange does, if you're over 26, if you're up to 26, and your parents want you on their health insurance, hopefully they have health insurance, you'll be okay. But if not, it should make buying insurance more competitive. Because remember, the insurance companies are going to get millions of more clients. So they can't be doubling premiums the way they have been. Now, we don't expect that premiums are going to go down drastically, but the idea was to slow down the rate of growth. And the idea is through an exchange where insurance companies are competing for your business, better chance of getting a good rate. The other thing in the legislation is 80% of the premiums have to go for medical care. Insurance companies are a business. These people have to pay the rent and pay their bills. But you want to be sure that the profits are not out of sight, that they're fair, because everyone deserves a fair profit, but that 80% of the costs are going to go for health insurance. Another issue, we have these cases, and Pat Keegan, raise your hand, and Ben Craig is here. You can always follow up with them with additional questions. We have, I don't know, what do you say, Ben, thousands of cases in our office, which are pretty tough. Youngster has diabetes or another, what they call pre-existing condition. Go try and buy health insurance. It is very difficult. The rates can go sky high. So you cannot prejudice a client or a potential client who has a pre-existing condition with this legislation going into place. That will make a big difference for a lot of families. Another thing, there cannot be caps, because we have seen cases where, and I will say these insurance companies excluded because I want to be very nice today, right, and fair, where a person is very sick and could be a young person, middle age, older person is very sick. They could be paying their insurance their whole life. And they get their insurance cut off for some silly reason. Maybe a date is wrong on a form. It is unfortunate that these instances can be documented. So we had another case in our office where a person was sick with leukemia and needed a certain medication. It was not experimental because other insurance companies were covering it, but that insurance company decided not to cover it. The person went for 3 appeals, was turned down, and I had to call the president of the company and say, why aren't you paying for this? Anyone want to guess what the end of the story was? They're paying for it. Yeah. So there are instances like that, and because of the new system, I think, and there are going to be wrinkles as it works out, but I think there's going to be a big difference with people with pre-existing condition being charged huge rates. At the beginning, the exchanges won't be set up till 2014, so there's a special pool, which you probably know all about, of people who are high risk, because we want to keep the insurance companies in business as well, to make sure that they can provide the services to all of you. Let me say a couple of things that I think are important. I have all these notes, but as usual, I didn't really use them, so I just want to make sure I'm giving you all the information. Some people may say, why do you need this? Why are you even doing this? I like the way things are. Well, since 2000, just a couple of statistics, not mine. Personal premiums have more than doubled. I mentioned that before. Since 1987, the cost of the average family health insurance policy has risen from 7% of the median family income to 17%. In 2007, 60% of all U.S. bankruptcies were due to medical costs. And if we did nothing, if someone asks you, oh, I don't like this health plan, why are you doing this? If we did nothing, it is estimated we'd be spending $33 trillion on health care over the next decade. So we had to do something because we didn't want your generation to be saddled with costs that are just out of control, federal debt, unsustainable healthcare system. Couple of other points. Statistics. This is an interesting statistic, not you, I'm sure. 47% of young people have gone without insurance at some point in the last year. 1 in 3 is insured now. So by expanding coverage, it gives you options to hopefully purchase your insurance at an affordable rate. Now, another statistic, only 53% of 19 to 29-year-olds are offered coverage through their jobs. 53%, little more than half. So through these exchanges, people who are not offered insurance through their jobs, as I mentioned, will be able to get it. So if, God forbid, you're faced with a sudden serious illness, you don't have to feel that it's going to eat up every dime you have in the bank. And by the way, there's a professor at Harvard by the name of Elizabeth Warren who did a lot of work. I don't know if you've heard about her or read about her. Who did a lot of work on bankruptcies, personal bankruptcies. And she thought when she started this, oh, this is a spending society. Everyone's going out and buying fancy TVs and fancy refrigerators. Primarily healthcare and mortgages on the house. That's why people are going bankrupt. So, a couple of other things that you should know. Young adults, if you're not on your parents' program, making up to about $43,000 a year, can get a tax credit to purchase quality coverage.